Okay, hello folks. It's an exciting day here at Stone Mountain Press headquarters when we can show off a new hot off the press version of a print product. So here are the two variants of GridZone. Let's get into the boxes, take a look and see what we got, and maybe talk about the differences a little bit. I think I've done that in a previous video. I forgot. First up, classic. I'll set this aside for a moment. Typical letterhead box, full color adhesive label comes with it. If you want to use it on the box, you can. Same old approach we've used since, I don't know, 2015, 16. At any rate, oh, here's the dice, and both games use the same set. So you're going to get 2 12-sideds, 3 6-sideds, color-coded, black, white, and yellow, and then you get these wood tokens, yellow for stuns and red for injuries. The stuns and injuries have been revised in both games. Both games share the same method on that, which I'm pretty happy about. So something unique to the classic version as opposed to Turf War is this 72 card player deck, business card format, and you use that, flip it over, and you'll find out who the key player is. If there's ball distribution, you can flip a card to get that. Ball distribution varies by team, so you would translate that number 5, 2, 1 for pass, run, and X respectively. You look at the team sheet and figure out who the player is that gets credit for a catch, for a carry, or for touching the ball, either one, pass or run, on an X play. And then if a random player needs to be determined for whatever reason, say a fumble recovery or an injury, then there's that section at the bottom. So those are the 3 bits of information you get from that card. And they flip on the short side. So there we go. Real nice, glossy. I'll move that around a little bit. Maybe you can see the glossiness of it. Instruction booklet. Everybody seemed really happy with the Stone Cold hockey booklet, and so I think that's become our gold standard, our template moving forward. Real nice instruction booklet. Chock full of examples, as usual. I really try to cover all the bases on these things, so hopefully that helps you guys out. And really happy with that. How many pages? 24 pages. It's got a color cover, grayscale interior. So, Classic GridZone has the same number of charts as Turf War. However, they're half the size. So instead of having the old coil-bound chart book like we do in Turf War, you'll see it in a minute. All you need is this. And I think if you saw one of the previous videos, you would know that you basically flip for a key player, so an offensive diamond player, and then use his appropriate rating, whether it's pass, run, X. Use that appropriate rating to add or subtract from the D12 result on the play. So it's kind of a sliding scale approach to having the player influence the action. As opposed to Turf War, which, if you've got that and familiar with it, it's matchup based. So it's all about, a linebacker versus running back, or defensive line versus an offensive line, that sort of thing. A receiver versus a defensive back, so forth. This game here simplifies that process just by taking a single player and a single rating and giving you a result. So you don't have to look necessarily at both team sheets. to resolve a play. Sometimes you do, depending on what's going on. You know, sometimes you get a crazy play where there's a sack and a fumble, you know, and maybe a carry for a gain, and then a fumble and a return. You know, so that can take you down the rabbit hole a little bit. At any rate, that's what the charts look like. And what else? Here we go. Here's your field tracker. And it's mainly only different because a couple little things had to change on the event chart, and then the player symbols are different for the classic version of the game. That has to do with the player positions. We just talked about the matchups, linebacker versus running back, etc. Particular positions match up with each other in a little deeper, more logical fashion in turf war, as opposed to just sort of randomly, you know, getting a player based on his frequency of involvement, regardless of position, and then getting a result that way. But there is something to be said for both approaches, and a lot of people still like the classic approach. So that's why we did it. We thought we'd try to support, produce and support two versions of the game and see how it goes. That's the player generation season charts, off-season charts, and then that's the quick reference card. No big changes there. So well, we'll talk about turf war in a minute. All right, so that's the crux of the classic version. It's really using key players as modifiers as opposed to doing the matchup mechanics. Then you got your introduction to the AGL. This is inspired by the CCL hockey fictional set for hockey for Stone Cold. That went over pretty well, and so I think that's becoming our template for any fictional seasons we produce. I like having a little booklet to remind you of, to sort of set the stage and talk about, you know, players that have moved here and there, or teams that have changed in some way, and why. But this here introduces the AGL, and that comes with the core set. It's the same booklet in either version of the game. The team sheets are not the same, however, and that's because of the player symbols. So, you know, it's real, in classic, position doesn't matter much in terms of the logic of the game. But on the team sheet, ironically, on the team sheet, players can be in their actual position. So a defensive tackle, you know, can be in the middle, you know, the middle spot. You know, an outside linebacker. If you have a middle linebacker and you've got a three, you're running a 2-3 defense, you can have a middle linebacker in the middle position, that sort of thing. But it's really all about matching these symbols for key players. So, you know, if I flip this, well, that's a choice. Let me flip a different one. I'll flip there and I get a defensive star. Well, it's easy to look on the defensive side and see that DeAndre Hodges is the defensive black star symbol. All right. So that's why the team sheets are different, because the turf war version, if you're familiar, it has the actual player positions do matter in terms of how they match up. By contrast, however, in turf war, they're lined up in ranks left to right. So all of the star players tend to be on the left. You know, your best linebacker is going to be on the left, your best defensive back is going to be on the left, your best receiver is going to be on the left. And that just helps reference these matches, because on turf war, you've got to look at both team sheets for every play, pretty much. Generally speaking, that's true. All right, so at any rate, there's the AGL. The team sheets are in color, which is kind of fun. I've always wanted to do this. Do it this way. And so there you go. That's the classic version of the game. Put some of this stuff back together real quick. And we'll take a look at Turf War 2nd edition. All right, put that there. The changes are subtle in this variant of the game. It does come with the same dice set. I didn't need 2 dice sets. These are my copies that I'm going to play with. And hopefully I will be playing with them on the channel here soon. So again, nice looking glossy magazine style rule book. Again, 24 pages. The rules in between the 2 games, if you play both, a few of you do or will. And the rules are probably 80% overlap, something like that. All right, here's the new coil-bound chart book. Looks a lot like the old one. It's the same artwork here, but it's been expanded. It's kind of zoomed out a little bit. And then you'll see that these are much cleaner, brighter looking charts. We took the background out. Probably 10% of the results were changed in some way for a couple different reasons, which I've probably explained in prior videos. And you'll see these little burst symbols. That's the same man down injury, stun and injury process between the 2 games, which is more streamlined now. There's not as much tracking in terms of a second stun and you know, tracking players for the remainder of the game and all that. It's much easier. All right, so coil-bound chart book, very happy with that. The colors just pop on this stuff. I hope it translates in the video. All right, here's the tracking sheet, your field tracker, your player status tracker. Here's that man down chart, and there's a few man down results also on the event chart related to, you know, like personal fouls, for example. All right, this is the same AGL introduction booklet. There was no need to make different variants of that for the 2 games. Here's your quick reference card, kind of showing you the basics, reminding you of a few things when you run across those for the first 2 or 3 times until you get it internalized. And then there's the player generation off-season charts on the backside, which are virtually, I believe, unchanged from the original. So something that has changed in off-season is player retention, especially in your free agent pool, undrafted rookies, stuff like that. You can't count on those players being there. And that was something that came out over time as people were running competitive leagues, and these players were just always in the churn and always available. So even if you rolled that they left one team, they would be available to the next and so forth. And that led to a real arms race in leagues. So after 2 or 3 seasons, it would be, these leagues would quickly ramp up and all the teams would be stacked. And so the new approach is going to slow that way down and probably cap it at a certain level. It's going to be much harder to have a full league that's stacked that way. Huh, did I? Oh well, here's another version of that. Another copy of the same thing. I'll set that over here too. Here's your score sheets. Those are unchanged. The team sheets for the Turf War version, same as I started to say same as before, but we were using team cards before. Yeah, I got mixed signals. When I first released GridZone, I got mixed signals on the team sheets, and a lot of folks said, well, it takes up too much space. Well, it doesn't really take up that much space, because, you know, when you lay these teams out, let's say we've got Fort Worth visiting Denver here. I mean, that's just That's the same as 1 8.5 by 11. You got your offense, defense, and then now Fort Worth's on offense, Denver's on defense. If I laid out 2 team cards here to save space, it's going to take up about the same space. So I've always liked the team sheets. The team sheets convey a better football feel. You can see the formations lining up against each other. So that's why we're back to team sheets. If you don't like it and you prefer the team cards, I'm sorry. All right, did we cover all that? I think we did. All right, so there you go. The new Turf War and the new Classic. So look for more videos upcoming. Hopefully I will be able to carve out some time and maybe play through an AGL season and share some of that with you via video. If not, I'll just post on Delphi or share some stuff on Facebook as I go through it, kind of like I did with the CCL. But yeah, I need to do more GridZone videos, and I think it'd be fun to go through a season and kind of toggle back and forth between the 2 versions. Maybe play a week with Classic and another week with Turf War, or depending on my mood. That's it, folks. See you next time.